Today's episode has been 3 years in the making. This man doesn't know it, but the number of requests that have poured in for us to interview him. He is the #1 mortgage loan originator in the country. Not top 1%, #1. So if you sell homes for a living, if you're looking to buy a house, or you yourself are a mortgage loan originator, you're going to want to tune in and hear what we have to say. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children 18 plus, you are tuned in to the Loan Officer Podcast with me, Dustin Owen, and a very special guest. This dude is in Las Vegas, Nevada, because he is speaking at Mastermind Summit 2024. He is the #1 mortgage loan originator in the country, 8 years running. He hails from Massachusetts. He is the biggest Patriots, Celtics, and Red Sox fan that you can meet. He is my new friend, Shant Banosian. Shant, welcome to the Loan Officer Podcast.
Thanks, man. Happy to be here. That was the best introduction I've ever gotten in my life. I'm honored and a little. I don't know. That was amazing.
My goal is like it's a little bit WWE. It's a little bit
great.
UFC. Yeah. But I know you're a dad of 3 daughters, so maybe it's a little bit Swifty too. I don't know.
I'm a Swifty now. I've been a Swifty now for about a year.
Dude, I started following you on social a couple years ago because true story, and I told you this off camera, that we started this podcast 4 years ago, and 4 years ago I was doing the podcast because I wanted to have some fun. I wanted to teach the shit they don't teach us in school. Basically, all the things that you and I learned as being loan originators and all the stuff that we teach from our craft. But as we grew a fan base, my fans were like, dude, D.O., you need to get so-and-so on the podcast. You need to get so-and-so on the podcast. And at first I was like, who is this dude? I can't even pronounce his name. Then I looked you up. I'm like, damn, okay. I do need to get this dude on the podcast. But what's rare about us is we only record in person.
Yeah.
And you're in Massachusetts. I'm in Florida. So I'm grateful that I noticed that you're speaking at this event. I'm like, yes, we're going to be at the event too.
Yeah.
Let's rock and roll.
Well, I'm happy to be here. It's funny. Somebody sent me, I think, your podcast a few times. Be like, hey, they were talking about you on here. So I'm looking forward to it. I think I can already tell we have a lot of stuff in common. I'm actually pretty passionate about, like, in my next phase of my career, I'm definitely going to get all in on, like, educating kids, like whether it's high school kids, college kids, whatever, all the stuff that they should really know. Financial literacy, like, so important, like the stuff that they don't learn that they should learn, that I've learned throughout the course of the last 27 years.
Have you checked out what Dave Savage and Kristen are doing over at First Home IQ? Yeah, that is right up my alley as well. I don't know you well enough to know your background. I'm going to interview you, so I'm going to figure out your background. But like, my background was one that we didn't talk about certain things in the household, and I made a point as a parent to talk about it. And I'm curious, your background. Did you come from a family that was into housing, into real estate? Like, how did you find yourself as a mortgage loan originator?
Yeah, great question. My story is my parents both immigrated to this country in the 1970s.
From where?
From we're Armenian. So my mother immigrated here from Lebanon. My dad actually immigrated here from Iraq.
Okay.
They met here in right outside Boston, in Watertown, actually, where I grew up, where there's a huge Armenian population. And they had to make a life for themselves. And I remember, I actually didn't learn how to speak English till I was about 4 years old.
I was going to ask you, do you speak Arabic?
Armenian.
Armenian, okay.
Yeah, my parents actually speak Arabic and Armenian. I only speak Armenian and English. But they came to this country, and I remember at a very early age 2 things. One, they were always, like, confident in real estate, proud of their real estate holdings. And also, like, just kind of knowing that was like a thing that they always talked about. It's like, just buy real estate, like, it always works. They weren't into the stock market or investments. Like, they didn't trust that, and they still don't to this day but to them, like, real estate was a big deal, and it was a way in which they kind of created a life and created wealth for themselves. And so at a very early age, it was something that I was totally interested. Like, I remember looking at the Boston Globe as a kid and, like, only looking at the sports section and then looking at the real estate section. And, like, that's like that as a very early memory, like, looking at that stuff. So it was always something that piqued my interest. And I kind of, what's funny is, like, I didn't get out of college thinking that I was going to be a mortgage loan officer, right? Like, I kind of fell into it by accident. But
like we most of us do, right?
Yeah, totally. But, like, I immediately, upon starting, like, I knew I loved it, and I knew I was good at it. Like from day one, like, I loved it, and I was like,
Yeah.
funny like how you just kind of end up falling in. I was like, this is for me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I call it being bitten by the bug.
Yeah.
Because I've onboarded and trained tens, 20, 30 rookie loan originators, right? Like dozens. And you can tell early on those that get bitten by the bug versus those that don't, because it's not necessarily an easy and always fun career, but if you get bitten, then you found it's your career. And it sounds like early on you were bitten, like it was for you.
And like, it's funny is like I started in 2003, and in 2007, like the world kind of collapsed around us. And like, I didn't really, like everybody was telling me to get out of the business, go somewhere else. Like the thought of like leaving the mortgage business, like of course there was moments of doubt, but like I liked it and I knew I was good at it. And I just had like this confidence that like, it wasn't going to disappear. Like the housing market wasn't going anywhere. I knew it was gonna be hard. So I decided to stay in and go all in at that point. In 2008, like I opened up effectively my own business, and it's the best thing I ever did.
Yeah, so we were talking offline because I'm proud. Like I'm super proud. Like, hey, my region last month funded 60 million.
Yeah.
You're like, yeah, we did 110.
Yeah.
I was like,
yeah, that was my personal production team.
That's
like
your personal production,
like
correct? Yeah, this isn't a branch. This isn't a company. This isn't a region. No, this is your personal branch that you run out of Watertown, Massachusetts.
Out of Waltham. I grew up in Watertown. I live in the town right next door, Waltham. Actually, so they're like bordering communities. Actually went to college in Waltham at Bentley, and so I opened up my office there because that's like where like my community is, right? Yeah. And so and I live in the town over. So we did 110 million. That's me and my team, and we crushed it.
What going back to the early years, so you get into 03, did you do anything prior to mortgage?
No, well, I had like I graduated from college in 2002.
Okay.
I had like a position as a property manager, working, like it was like my first job. It was like I didn't know what I wanted to do, so I just like took the first offer. I actually quit that because I thought I was going to be an attorney. So I quit my job, started studying for law school, and it was during that time that I ran into a buddy of mine that was in the mortgage business, and he was telling me how great it was. And I wasn't working. I was actually working as a door guy at a bar in Boston, and one of my best friends is the bartender, and that was like our shtick, right? And like, so I didn't have a job. It sounded fun. It was 2003. The housing market was hot. It was like I thought I could actually, in my mind, I was like, maybe I can go study a student, studying for law school, and do this like part time, make some dough, pay for my college. And then again, I got started in 2003 at what was, at the time I didn't know, it was like a subprime mortgage company called Champion Mortgage, and it was awesome. It was like the best place that somebody could get trained in the mortgage business. Like there was an actual training program. They taught us how to sell our value, how to communicate our value. They taught us how to work, how to hold ourselves accountable. Like it was an amazing, with a great culture. And then unfortunately it didn't survive past. I was actually one of the last technical employees of what was
I'd say like many companies, 07. I mean, I was in 2007, 2008. I think I worked at 3 different mortgage companies, and it wasn't by choice.
So it didn't make it, and I, like I said, I had a decision to make. So I decided to stay in the business, and I convinced a mortgage company out of New Jersey actually to allow me to open up a branch in Massachusetts. But their condition, because things were so bad, was like, look, you're a subprime guy, like you don't know anything about this side of the business. They're like, you got to work out of New Jersey for 3 months before we let you open up this branch. So I was like, okay. So I would literally like get in a car on Monday mornings or Sunday nights, and I would drive to New Jersey. There was this website, I don't even know if it's still around, Priceline.com.
Yes.
I'd go on Priceline and I'd put in a bid for like a hotel room, and I'd put my bid in and I'd see what accepted it, and that would be where I'd live for the week. And I did that for 3 months, and then they were like, all right, you know what you're doing, we'll let you do it. And we opened up our branch literally,
Is that your same branch?
We've moved a couple times since then, just because we've grown so much.
Was that guaranteed rate though?
Well, it was a company called Superior Mortgage that guaranteed acquiring. So that's how I ended up
over at GR. Yeah, because you've been at GR forever now.
Pretty much. I mean, technically, I've worked for the same company really this whole time.
So I was going to ask you questions about what it was like 03 through 07, but I think the audience would prefer that 08 time frame.
For sure.
If you go back and you remember 08, 09, 10, what were those years like? What are some things that you did that you can now, at this level of your career, look back and say, because I did X, I am where I am? And then the second part of that is, but I did Y, and I'll make sure I never do Y again.
Yeah, I can answer those questions really easily because I've been thinking about it actually on the way here. A little nostalgia coming back to Mastermind. So, with 2008, the best thing that ever happened to me was 2008 because it required, everybody was getting out of the business. and everybody was their mindset was like so off. Like everybody's just focused on what products they were losing, what companies were going out of business, how hard the business was. And I was like new to that side of the business. Like, what I did before, I was like a lendingtree.com, like consumer, like direct loan officer.
Yes.
I wasn't.
Yeah,
so
call center more
call
than going out and self-generating your own leads.
Only call center and only refinance.
Okay.
So, now I was like, all right, I'm going to be a loan officer direct to real estate agents, what I was focused on. I had to go build my community. So like, I didn't care about what was going on. I was like, just like trying to learn the guidelines as they were and how the business was changing, not focused on what I had lost, and just going out and building relationships. And like, that's all I did for 2 years. Like I was everywhere. Like I was at breakfast meetings, lunch meetings, dinner meetings. I was at networking events. I was in BNI, the Chamber of Commerce, the Rotary. Like I was actually kind of thinking really small now that I look back at it. Like I just wanted to like dominate in like 3 or 4 towns, right?
So I'm going to pause you because there's people tuning in right now that if you're not picking up what I'm picking up, this was 08, this was 09, this was 10. Let's fast forward. Can I call this 22, 23, and 24?
Totally.
I mean, history doesn't repeat itself, but it rhymes. There's a lot to learn from this. If you were just fast forward from 08 to 23, fast forward those 15 years, and what I'm hearing is there was no secret, there was no handout, there was you getting after it.
Yeah, I mean, I literally, like, when I say like I stuck to the basics, and I really leaned on those memories over the last couple of years, and I was really thankful for having gone through that, because I was able to be like, look, I made it through that, and all I did was just hustle. I didn't listen to the noise. I didn't like focus on anything I couldn't control. It was all about like just activity. And you know what's great about activity and keeping yourself busy? It's like the best distraction ever. Because one, you start to win pretty quickly. There's always people buying houses. There was, looking back on it, there was like millions upon millions of homes sold that year, right? Like more than there's being sold right now.
Correct.
Right? And
less people trying to do the business.
Way less people, and rates were very similar to what they were, and then they went down, right? It was the best gift ever. So like, I just hustled my ass off. I became the person that the realtors didn't even know who to call, because like everybody had disappeared. And then the ones that were still in the business were like hiding because they didn't even know what they could sell, or they were mentally off. Like I was just like, you call me, I'm available 24/7. Like if you need answers, I very early on became like the guy that like mastered condos, because like I was like I don't know what they were called now, I forget. But I literally remember, like, I would order those books. There was these 3 books. It was the Fannie Mae guidelines, the Freddie Mac guidelines.
Like all regs?
It was like all regs. Like it was a company that spit out the all regs every quarter. I had a subscription to it, and it would come in, and I would read those guidelines. I'd read those books, and like I became a master at all the investors we had, where I could send loans, LTVs, like all these things. And so I became the guy with the answers, even though I was like in it for like 12 months.
Yeah.
And that's all people want. They want to be confident. If you're knowledgeable, then you're confident. If you're uncertain, then you sound ignorant. Right? And that ignorance and uncertainty doesn't breed confidence in your partners and certainly your clients.
So true.
Yeah. And so like, that's what I just did, simply put. Like that's what I became. Like I became the guy that was 1, available, 2, knowledgeable, and 3, like confident. And that's all that needed at a time like that.
How many years did it take? Was it just 1 year before you felt like you made it? Was it 3 years until you like, well, what part did you feel like, wait a minute, I'm onto something, all of this hard work is paying off?
So truthfully, I would say it was like year 3 or year 4.
Okay.
So the first year was hard, man. I closed $9 million in my first year.
How many units do you think that was, if you were to guess?
My average loan size was probably like 250 or 300, so like maybe 30 units.
Yeah. So by the way, in your career, I believe you've done over 40,000 units.
Yeah, pretty close. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So this was just 0.1% of your career production, but that was your year 1.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't take a paycheck for 6 months intentionally, because like we wanted to build up the account. Like I didn't want to be in a position where like I was living month by month.
Yes.
So I intentionally built up a kitty, right? So that way we could like run it like a business, right? And so I didn't
hold on. You mean you ran your business like a business?
Yeah, for real.
What a novel concept.
Yeah, so like,
okay.
So year 1 was hard. Year 2, I think we did 18 million, right?
Okay, yeah.
Which was like, all right, I was like, now I can like live, right? I didn't have any kids. I had a fiance at the time,
you didn't have any Swifties.
No Swifties.
Swifties weren't around yet.
My girlfriend, which was my fiance, is now my wife. She was along for this whole ride. And, so I was like, then we did 18, and then we got up to like 30. And then when I remember being at like just about 30 something million, and I remember vividly, I was at lunch one day and my phone's ringing. I'm like, holy shit, like I made it. Like this is cool. Like I'm the guy with the money and people need money.
Yeah.
Right. Like, like, and I mean, like, like nobody's paying, I mean, at the time, nobody's paying cash for houses. Like, you need us. Right. And like, my phone was just like, people were like, hey, you're the money guy, right? Like, if I need to borrow money. And I was like, wow, like this is happening. And then, I grew it up to like, and I remember getting to like 50 million and be like, somebody saying to me, and I don't know who it was, but like, I'm one of those people that just grab onto anything that serves me. And somebody was telling me that like, it's easier the hardest part is getting to 50 million.
Mm-hmm.
Like once you get to 50, after that, it's whatever you want to take of it. And then I got to like right around 50, I was like, shit, like I made it. And then it was just a matter of like, but look, there was a lot of ceilings that we hit, a lot of growing pains. Like this is all, it's fun looking back at it, exciting, but like it certainly wasn't easy. Like it was a hustle, man.
Yeah, at the time you don't realize. I mean, anyone who's built any business, you look back and there's a reason why we long for yesteryear. But the problem is when we're in it, we're like in it, and we're usually stressed out because the results aren't what we anticipated.
No.
But looking back, you're like, oh, the nostalgia kicks in.
Yeah, and it was worth everything that I put into it, all the sacrifices. Everything, the learning, it was like totally worth it, and it's still serving me today.
Well, I saw someone do this, and it may have been Renee Rodriguez posted on something, and I follow Renee, and we're buddies.
Yeah, he's great.
And I think one of his reels was about 3 years of sacrifice for 30 years. But it's 3 years of sacrifice. Like something had a sacrifice. Like for me, I went through it.
Yeah.
There's been times my marriage sacrificed, sometimes my weight, my health sacrificed. But to look at where I am at 40, 45, looking into the next 40 years, I was like, oh, those sacrifices were temporary.
Yeah.
And now I get to benefit the next 40. Something you said that I love. So we launched this coaching company about 9 months ago, all based on the popularity of the podcast, right? So it's the TLOP MLO coaching community. It's basically the LA Fitness for loan officers looking for coaching.
Love it.
So when I grab onto someone who's newly licensed, or they're maybe a year or two into their industry, and they need help, they're a little bit lost, they're scared, I'm like, cool, it's okay to be lost and scared, it's not okay to do nothing about it. I will tell them, prepare to make no money for 6 months. What I just hear you say, I didn't take a paycheck for 6 months.
Yeah.
Then I said, whatever money you make in year one, you'll double it in year two. You and I don't know each other. We met today.
Yeah.
And you're like, yeah, I did 9 million in my first year. I did 18 million in my second year.
Yeah.
And then I literally would tell someone, and whatever you did in year two, you'll do 1.5 times that in year three.
Yeah.
You did a little bit better than 1.5, but based on my math, that person would have gone to 27 million.
Yeah.
And it's like, wow, I teach that in 2024. You lived it 8, 9, 10.
Yeah.
So I promise, and we're going to get into this, I do want to pick your brain.
Sure.
You're number one for a reason.
Yeah.
So that means real estate agents are able to learn from you.
For sure.
Home buyers learn from you and your team daily.
Yeah.
In fact, if you did 110 million last month, I'm thinking that was like 70 units. 166 units.
Yeah.
Maybe I was giving Boston a little bit higher loan amounts than
average loan size is about 600,000.
Okay.
Yeah.
So 166 people plus received advice from Shant and his team. So I want to make sure that we get to that. But before we do, this is a DO question now. Bro, what drives you? Like, I mean, what 50 million, right? Like if we use this on just average comp, I don't know what company people work at in different comp plans. That's on the low end, $300,000 in personal income. On the high end, let's just say it's $700,000 in taxable income. Okay, that's a $50 million producer. You get to 50 million, you're one half of the 1%ers, right?
Yeah. So
and that wasn't like, you're like, no, I can do more. Where did that come from?
Yeah, so at first where it came from was like, I remember initially getting the guaranteed rate and like having a moment where like I got there doing 50 million thinking like chest is up, like I'm the man. And then I see a bunch of people at the time there was a producer at the company that just done 400 million, a couple people, 2 guys had done 300 million, one of them is still a close friend today. And then
who's that? You want to give him a shout out?
Yeah, Joe Caltibiano. He was like he's not in the mortgage business anymore, but he was like one of the top guys in the company when I first got there, and he, learned a lot from him as a loan officer. And there was a bunch of people doing 100, and I'm sitting here like busting my ass at 50. So, and then I got to get to know these people, and I was like, well, if they can do it, like I can do it. So then it was a matter of like, okay, there's so much untapped potential in me because like these people have figured out if they can do it, I can do it. And these are all like smart people hustling, but like they weren't smarter than I was, and they weren't willing to work as hard. So I learned and studied from them and figured out what they were doing, where they were more efficient, where they were smarter. Like there was things they were doing I wasn't doing. And then it was like, okay, I caught up to them pretty quickly, and I was like, all right, well, I can like run this like a business like that people in the mortgage business aren't doing. Because like if you look at, there's financial advisors, there's other businesses that are like scaling, and I was like, well, I can
attorneys,
apply,
dental practices,
realtors for that matter. I remember, fortunately, very early on, I'll give Keller Williams a quick shout out, because I remember at this time, this is when I first started, like I'd worked with some friends that were Keller Williams agents, and they would invite me to their classes.
Bold, yes.
I read the book
Millionaire Agent, yes.
And the whole concept was like, you're only capped by yourself, but you can leverage other people, really smart people, build a team, and do even more, and drive better client experience, all that stuff. So like there was like all these places around me that were doing more, and I was like, well, let me just see how far I can take this thing. And so I went and like, look, I'm a son of immigrants, right? There's a little bit of that built in me that like, I don't take this country for granted. I appreciate the opportunity here. I think it's still an amazing place. And you have all these success stories, all these people in different businesses. I was like, I can really scale this thing. And so, and then like, even today, like, I have like I'm like one of those people that like, I'm an extremely hard worker. I came from very humble beginnings. I don't take for granted this opportunity we have in front of us. And I love this business. And I also think that like, there's a massive need for us. Yeah. Kind of like where you were going at, like, things are hard right now. It's hard being a real estate agent. It's hard being a consumer, a potential home buyer. It's hard being in the mortgage business, but like, it's not that hard. Like if you just have to, it's not impossible, I guess. And like, you just have to figure out where the opportunity is. There was a speaker in here just talking about there's so much opportunity even right now. Like, we're going to make a run at $1 billion this year, right? We did 600 million last year. Those are numbers that like, I thought I would have been happy with in my career.
Yes.
And like, we're doing in the middle of this.
Yeah.
So like, I love this business.
What was there a pivotal moment? I mean, besides, I love the fact that you changed your perspective when you changed your surrounding.
Correct.
And I just wrote something, and my wife actually used to preach this to me, but she was probably preaching it more to me about my friend group than anything else. But it's like, you are the company you keep. Totally. The minute you change the company you keep, what you did so through acquisition, you're like, wait a minute, I thought I was the big dog at 50 million, but so-and-so's doing 100, so-and-so's doing 400. And you're like, why not me? Why not now?
Yeah.
But was there something tactically that you, besides work harder, something tactically or mindset wise that you changed to get you from 50 to 400?
100%. It's easy. Because I grew up in the business as a direct to consumer loan officer, and then also because I really kind of got my foundational start in the business when like stuff was bad and like mortgage companies were going to fail. I was afraid to spend money, right? And I was afraid to hire support staff. I just thought I had to do it all on my own. And so then I also had this thing where like, well, everybody wants me. Like I wore this badge of honor, like I'm a control freak and like I'm the only one that can do it. Nobody's gonna be. And then I was like, you know what? Like as I was learning more, I was like, I got to make some hires. And as I started hiring the right people to work on my team to support my business and actually do stuff better than I was doing it. And then like I hired my first assistant, I hired him as an assistant. He's on my leadership team now. I hired an operations manager who's the person that like when we were busting at the teams going from like 180 to 300, she's still with me today. I hired a business development team. I hired a marketing team, like not all at the same time, like every couple of years.
You invested back in your business.
Yeah, 100%. And like, because there's only so much you can do by yourself in any kind of business. And so when I got comfortable doing that because I looked at it like either, hey, look, by hiring these people, I'm either going to work less or make more money or both. And it took a while for me to work less. I'm not sure that's really I work more efficiently now, but but I always did more, and I was also able to reinvest in the business. And so that was like the incremental change. And then I started utilizing tech, because I was able to just be more available. And like, this is like, whether you like it, I hear loan officers complain all the time, like, I don't want to be available. I don't want to work nights. I don't want to work weekends. Like, this is like the business. Like, it's like, you don't have to. Just shut your phone off. Yeah. I'll answer it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
it comes with the territory.
Yeah, it comes with the territory. And like, if you don't want to do it yourself, like, you know what I do? I pay a lot of money for people to work nights and weekends to cover my phone and cover my emails, and they do an amazing job. And
onshore or offshore?
Onshore.
Onshore.
Yeah. So, and because they're, and like I made that investment, right? So like, you don't have to do that. I didn't have to do that. But like, that's what I wanted to do, and it's scaled my business because now all my partners know that if I call, if I text, if I email, I'm getting not only an immediate response, but the desired answers, the desired support, all that kind of stuff. So like, that's not an expense. It's a 10x investment.
Yeah, some of the best advice that was given to me, and I now coach loan officers throughout the country for it, is a friend of mine is actually a dentist. He's a really good dentist. Shout out Dr. Curley in Altamont Springs, Florida. But I think about his practice because I'm a patient.
Yeah.
And, well, when I walk in, does Dr. Curley, is he the guy who checks me in? Ask me if I took my meds? No.
Yeah, it's funny.
And then when I go back, is he the guy who's doing my X-rays? Nope.
Yeah.
Is he the girl who's cleaning my teeth? No.
Yeah.
Right.
He sees you for the final 3 minutes.
Yes.
Yeah.
And he'll tell me, you don't want me cleaning your teeth.
Yeah.
He goes, I did that for 3 weeks in dental school.
Yeah.
He's like, I'll jack you up and make you bleed, you know?
Yeah.
And it's like, as a loan officer, we all go through this. It's like, we think we're the holy grail. We're the only one. And it's like, probably not. You could probably hire, train, and hold accountable someone to do that better.
Yeah.
And then you can go focus on the things that you do well
Yeah.
and maybe you enjoy. You're not going to work any less,
No.
but you'll focus on the things that you're good at.
Yeah, I mean,
I love it.
Yeah, I mean, that's, if you can do all the things that you're great at and enjoy, and all the things that you're good at and enjoy, you're so much more better for everybody around you, your team, your clients, and your partners. If you're doing stuff that you suck at or you don't like, you suck the life out of everybody and yourself.
Yes. Of those 160 plus units last month, I bet you had this, you're dialed in.
Yeah.
What percentage do you think were past clients, were realtor referrals, any come from your social media, any come from consumer direct? Like, what does that look like?
Yeah. So we did 6 refis. The purchases were, obviously 160 units. Of the purchase business that we did, 60% of them were realtor driven, and the 40% were previous clients or like previous database. We had 900 applications last year just from our database outreach.
Wow.
So like we hit our database real hard.
Is that like
Emails.
birthday calls, anniversary check-ins? What?
No, man. Like I provide content and value. Like,
Okay.
yeah, like, I mean, I say happy birthday.
Yeah.
But like nobody's doing business with me because I'm saying happy birthday to them. Like I'm sending them weekly, like actually not weekly, daily emails with like anything I record on social, I email out to. So every video
every
I do,
day to your database.
Every email, everything I post on social is a video. I email it to my database. So I stretch my content. We send them emails that we curate based on what we're seeing in the market. I have about a 40% open rate to my email database because I don't send them BS stuff.
Yeah.
Like, if I get like a happy birthday email from my plumber, I delete it.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like, so like, look, like I think like it's better to be in their inbox than not, but like I try to send them valuable content. So I'm sending them text, emails, social, direct messages. We're posting a lot on our social. So like it's and here's why I email it. And here's why, like, a lot of email gets like a bad rap. Email's great. I just think horrible emails are dead.
Yeah.
I think good email content will still be read. If it looks like 700 people got it, then it gets deleted. If it looks like it's a customized email specific to that person with valuable content that piques interest, they'll read it. If it's HTML, delete, automatic, unsubscribe. So yeah, I mean, look, we're hitting it hard via social, via email, and we're like really engaged with our partners. Like we pour a lot into our partners because we love them. They're our source of business, right? So like we really try to go all in on like giving them content, educating them, informing them. I always say you'll hear it tomorrow, like if you educate, you attract. If you inform, you motivate. What I mean by that, if I educate my database, if I educate my partners, I attract the right kind of clients and I attract the right kind of partners that value me for what I bring to the table. And if you inform, you motivate people into action. And like that's really powerful in a market like this where a lot of people are frozen. So I spend a lot of time curating content, social and written, because you don't know how people are going to consume information. I don't know how you like to consume information.
Correct.
Or people, like, not everybody's going to listen to this podcast, but some people are. So I do podcasts.
Yeah,
do
literally.
stuff.
Some people listen to podcasts.
Yeah.
Some people go to YouTube.
Yeah.
And you have no idea.
No idea.
Some people just watch the clips on LinkedIn and be like, dude, I love your podcast. I'm like, I don't think you're a podcast listener.
Yeah.
They're like, no, I follow you on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
You're absolutely correct.
So you're stretching it, right?
Yes, you have to.
Yeah.
Have to. So you're touching your database daily, though.
Every day.
Every single day.
No BS.
Absolutely love it. So this is a off-brand question.
Yeah.
So this is off mortgage and real
All right,
estate.
cool.
Talk to me briefly about your shoe collection.
A lot of
What?
stuff.
I mean, if you were to guess, how many pairs and are they all Nikes?
I have a couple that are not, but yeah, I mean, it's predominantly, and most of them that aren't Nike are gifts from people.
Okay.
Yeah. But it's predominantly Nikes. I have mostly Jordan 1s.
Okay.
I was a big, I remember when my dad gave me my parents gave me as a 10-year-old, my first pair of Jordans. And it was a big deal. Like $100 sneakers back then was like I mean, it'd be the equivalent of like 500, you know.
Yeah, you and I are in that same boat. Mine were though Bo Jackson. When Bo's,
Yeah.
I had the Bo's, the Nike Bo's, the high tops.
Yeah.
And that was like, I couldn't believe my dad let my mom spend that much money.
Yeah.
And my mom had a rule though. She had to make sure my foot was done growing.
Yeah.
That was her rule.
You know what's crazy is like, I don't know that I'd ever buy, I mean, maybe now because my kids are spoiled, but like, I don't know like that. Anyways,
Yeah.
you know, whatever. So,
So I was
bottom
just
line.
like, I'm looking down and
Yeah.
I'm noticing.
Yeah.
Right. I remember I follow you on social.
Yeah.
And then I was thinking, so JC, who normally sits in your seat,
Yeah.
he's my co-host and my producer. You met him, the guy
Yeah.
from
Springfield.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's a big sneakerhead.
Yeah.
Right. So like
So
he's
got some
always
J's on there.
rocking
Yeah.
some kind of like fancy.
Yeah.
So I was just curious, like if you were to guess, 300 pair, 200 pair?
No, I'm very selective. So I've got about 60.
Okay.
Yeah, but like I'm very like I got all the good ones.
The rare ones.
Yeah,
You have the
yeah.
rare ones that are hard to find.
Yeah,
Like
hard-
I've been looking for the Carolina Blues.
Yeah.
And I'm too cheap to spend the money
Yeah.
to get them. I found them,
Yeah.
but
So you know what? Like I don't really have any vices, and I don't have a ton of like things that I spend a ton of money on. Sneakers are my thing, and I wear them. You know, what's funny
Yes.
is like I'll walk by all my buddies' kids, and they're like, "Dude, you're wearing those?" Like I have my Travis Scotts on today, and I'm like, "Yeah." They're like, "How can you wear them? What if they get dirty?" I'm like, "I'm a grown ass man. Like, you know, these are for wearing. Like, I'm not trading sneakers. Like, I run a business.
Yeah.
You know, so I love it. It's fun. You know, when COVID happened, it was great in a lot of ways because everybody got a little bit more casual. I'm more like free and like who I am. Like I wear pretty much a t-shirt every single day. I wear jeans and I wear sneakers, and I go to my meetings like that. Every once in a while I dress it up with a sports coat if I'm feeling fancy, and because they look good with sneakers. I go to weddings with sneakers on now. Like it's just who I am. I'm way more comfortable in my skin, and it's like a part of me just being fun, being authentic. And like it's a cool, like it's a little confidence booster too.
yeah, I'm looking forward to Friday. We're recording this on Wednesday, so it's day one of Mastermind Summit. Friday is when I'm pulling out my J's, and they look sweet with the outfit I have. My wife saw me pack, and she goes, "Do you even wear those?" I'm like, "Yes, at least once a week." She goes, "They don't look like they've ever been worn." I'm like, "Babe, that's the goal.
Yeah.
The goal is I want to keep them clean." But yeah, they look sweet. All right, 3 last questions,
Sure, fire
then we
away,
can
man.
wrap
I'm
this
having
up.
a lot of fun.
I'm having a lot of fun, so thank you for this. What advice are you giving to the realtors that you serve right now about the market, about how your team can serve them, or better yet, I mean, what are you teaching them things that they can be doing to become more successful 24, but even leading into 25 and 26?
Yeah, so great question. The biggest two challenges our clients are facing, which is our partners' clients, and our realtors are facing, is affordability is number one, as home prices have gone up and rates have gone up, and there's inflation and all that kind of stuff, like everything's more expensive. And then two is just like purely how to win, right? Like it's extremely difficult. The demand far exceeds the supply. So I'm doing everything I can to educate my partners. Literally every single day we're out with our partners doing mastermind lunches, doing training sessions, going into their team meetings, coaching them as to giving them information as to what we're seeing in the market, in the housing market, in the mortgage market, all that kind of stuff. Just giving them information so they can back out and sell it. Go back out and share it with their clients so they can help them motivate. You know what I said earlier, educate attracts, information motivates. So like if I'm informing somebody about, hey, listen, I know this is what your budget is today, but if you buy this house, this is what it's going to look like in 5 years. If you stay renting versus buying, like I know your mortgage payment's higher than your rent payment, and you might think that's not a good move for you, but like here's what happens if you stay renting versus here's what happens if you buy. So like educating them, coaching them. You know, when I tell my partners all the time, and what I believe truly, and there's a lot of things I'm talking to my partners right now because they have it just as hard as we do. The harder this market gets, the more unaffordable, the more challenging to win the house because things are getting overbid, multiple offers, all that stuff. The more important we are as professionals, both as mortgage and real estate, because the cream will rise to the top. We're not just transactions like we were a couple years ago when rates were 2.75%, and they're not just door openers when like everybody wanted to buy a house, right? Like, so you have to show your value. So I'm giving them everything I can as a good partner to educate their clients, to get them prepared, to get them confident, to get them knowledgeable so that they can act in a fast moving market. And then I'm coaching up their clients as to how to deal with the affordability challenges and how to have the right perspective and how to enter the housing market right now, because it is an amazing time. You think it's hard now. What happens when rates comes down in 2 years, when everybody has more affordability, more buying power, and there's even more demand? So I'm really coaching them on that. The other part is that like ultimately, like, you know, with everything they have going on with this NAR settlement, I do think it's going to be the best thing that ever happened to them, because it's going to force them to communicate their value proposition And if you're good at communicating and you have value and you understand the obstacles and challenges of your clients and you can be the solution and you can articulate that, you're going to quadruple your business.
Yeah.
And because it's going to eliminate the same thing that happened in our business in 2008,
100%.
the same thing that's happened in our business the last 2 years. I just saw a presenter speak about how many people have left the business. I'm cool with that. They shouldn't have been in the business. If they can't, there was a lot of business that happened over the course of the last 2 years, both in real estate and mortgage. And if you can't survive the slowdown for 2 years, then you don't deserve to be in the business.
Well said.
Yeah.
Well said. What advice are you giving to home buyers right now?
Get prepared early, right? Like this isn't something like that you should, it's a very competitive market. There's a lot of qualified people that you're going to be competing against that want to get into the housing market. You have to know your stuff and you have to do the work in advance. You're buying a big ticket item. Like you can walk into a car, people don't even just walk into a car dealership and buy a house, like they research it. But a lot of people are like, hey, I found a house, I want to buy it, I want to get pre-approved. Can you do it? I have to make an offer in an hour. Like you got to get pre-approved in advance. You have to know all your options. You have to spend a lot of time like understanding and getting knowledgeable yourself, because if you're not going to act, you're going to freeze. And if you don't get in now, the biggest advice I'm giving is like, listen, like, going back 81 years, home prices have appreciated 75 times. They've only come down in the nation 6 times, right? So all those people that are waiting to buy when rates come down, all the people that are waiting to buy when home prices come down, they could be waiting for 25 years. And then, by the way, those house prices are going to be quadruple what they are now, and they're going to be missing out on all the wealth creation by paying principal, by paying interest, by having the tax benefits, and also like the fulfillment and fun that comes from like owning your house. Like I have so many great memories. It's not just a financial decision, like my family, my life, like all the good stuff. So just trying to get them to see that, there's a lot that you have to think about when buying life's biggest purchase.
I love what you said about the 75 years and home appreciation. I always like to compare it to the Chicago Bulls of the 1990s. Like this is the Jordan Pippen era.
Yeah.
Like they never lost.
Yeah.
Home ownership doesn't lose.
Yeah.
So I have 2 quick questions, and then we're going to close it out. Celtics in how many?
Celtics in 6.
Celtics in 6.
Yeah.
Does that mean they win it on their home court then?
No, unfortunately they would win in Dallas if that happens. But, look, I got a lot of respect for Dallas. Luka is probably my favorite player in the league outside of any Celtics. I hate Kyrie Irving with all my heart. He was a horrible Celtic, but he's a great player. And I think they're a tough team and they're battle tested. And I think it's going to be a killer series. I think we have a little bit more talent. We got KP coming back. I'm a huge fan. I'm trying to make it to almost every single playoff game. I was living at the Garden the last couple months with the Celtics and the Bruins, both in the playoffs. Unfortunately, Bruins bowed out, but I'm feeling good about the Celtics' chances.
What advice are you giving to your 3 girls that was not given to you, but maybe you learned it because you entered the mortgage industry, because you've run your own business and had the success you had? What's one piece of advice that you're going to make sure that you raise them with?
Yeah, so the same advice that I was given, actually, like, me and my wife both come from really humble beginnings. My wife's extremely talented, smart. She's an executive at a tech company. She's had an incredible career. She still works. And but like our parents grinded it out so we could give us a great life, both. And so we're trying to do the same for them, but like never take it for granted that hard work is everything. And being fulfilled, being honest. It's all the same things that we learned from our parents. Like we both came from incredible families that gave us great advice, that raised us to be good people. And so we're just trying to instill, I don't want to be one of those like really successful people that have like meathead kids that didn't appreciate it and take everything for granted and are like spoiled. So we're just trying to instill good values in them and just keep things real. Because there's nothing more important to me than what they turn out to be.
If people want to follow you or connect with you, what are your preferred methods of connecting?
So to follow me, hit me up on Instagram at Shant Banosian. Also, I'm on LinkedIn. I post most of my content on Instagram and LinkedIn. But if you want to reach out, I guess direct message me through either Instagram or LinkedIn.
Perfect. And if you just recently tuned in because you noticed that we were having the #1 lender in America as a guest, we are the Loan Officer Podcast. We're affectionately known as TLOP. You can find all of us and everything that we do on TLOP Online. That's subscribing to the YouTube channel. That's signing up for the free newsletter that I actually personally write every single week. Or if you're looking for coaching, all that information is found over on TLOP Online. Our social handles are at the Loan Officer Podcast. That's TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. And my first name is Dustin. My last name is Owen. I'm best reached actually on LinkedIn. But he's Shant, I'm Dio. That's all the time we have for you today. Coming at you from Mastermind Summit in Las Vegas. Shout out Matt Emery. Thank you for the invite. What a phenomenal event. and we'll catch you on the flip side.